Let's just think about those numbers for a second. 9 years, a single uncharted island, and 134 people completely cut off, fighting for their lives against literally impossible odds. This is a story about what happens when the world leaves you for dead, but you simply refuse to die.
I mean, seriously, what happens? You vanish, your family grieves, the search parties eventually go home, and as far as the rest of the world is concerned, you're gone. You've ceased to exist. But what if you were still out there, just waiting?
Today, we're diving into the incredible and frankly harrowing story of a flight that flew straight into the heart of the Bermuda Triangle and disappeared, and the passengers who just refused to be erased from history.
So our story kicks off on what seemed like a totally normal night. It's December 27th, 1948. We're talking about a Douglas DC-3, the largest passenger plane of its time, on a routine flight from San Juan to Miami.
Everything was going smoothly, but then at 8:13 p.m., Captain Robert Miller radios in about a minor technical problem. No big deal, right? Well, just 1 minute later, the plane, with all 134 souls on board, just blips off the radar. Gone. Right in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle.
Now, what happened up there wasn't just some simple malfunction. The plane flew headfirst into a bizarre, violent storm, a kind of whirlwind that just defied all weather logic. For a full 30 minutes, that plane was thrown around like a toy. All its electronics were fried, the compass was just spinning uselessly, and then silence. The engines gave out. So they're plummeting out of the sky into total darkness. And then, out of nowhere, an island appears below them. An island that wasn't supposed to be there. And in what has to be a 1 in a million chance, the plane slams into this gigantic ancient tree. Its branches were so thick they acted like a net, catching the fuselage, and miraculously, every single person on board survived the crash.
Their lives were saved. That's the good news. But their ordeal? Oh, it was just getting started. They survived the fall from the sky, sure, but now they had to survive the island.
So you've got 134 people. They're in shock, but they're alive. And they find themselves on a piece of land that, according to every chart in existence, simply isn't there. They were completely and utterly alone.
The challenges hit them immediately, and they were deadly. First off, no fresh water. They had to rely on hoping for rain. They had no idea which plants were safe to eat, a lesson they learned in the most tragic way possible, when one man died after eating a poisonous fruit. The plane's engineer, a guy named Arthur Vaines, he actually managed to get a weak signal out on the radio, but the battery died before anyone could respond.
After just 10 days with no sign of rescue, you can imagine the desperation was setting in. A group of 5 young people, 4 men and 1 woman, they got together, built a small raft from plane wreckage, and pushed off into the ocean. They were never seen or heard from again.
And here's the kicker. While the survivors were fighting for every single day, the outside world was giving up. After a massive $45 million search turned up absolutely nothing, the U.S. government officially called it. Everyone on board was declared lost. For their families back home, all hope was gone.
So as the months dragged into years, that initial sense of unity, that we're all in this together feeling, it started to crack under the immense, unending pressure.
The years that followed were just this brutal roller coaster of emotion. I mean, a baby was born on the island, a powerful symbol of hope, right? But then that hope was just shattered when a large boat they'd spent months building was destroyed in a storm, killing 16 of their strongest people. As resources got scarcer, the little society they had built began to just fall apart at the seams.
So after that boat tragedy, and more deaths from sickness and just plain despair, only 98 people were left. The belief that they would ever be rescued was pretty much fading into nothing.
This is when the survivors really split in two. Captain Miller, he led one group, clinging to this idea that they had to keep trying to escape, no matter what. But another powerful faction rose up, arguing that this island was their destiny and that every escape attempt just led to more death. They said it was time to accept their fate.
By the time the 7th year came to a close, all that internal conflict, combined with sickness and the harsh environment, had claimed another 16 lives. Their number? It had dwindled down to just 82.
At this point, it seemed like things just could not possibly get any worse. But you know, it's often in the darkest hour that something unexpected happens, and a series of events was about to change everything.
First, a cyclone just obliterates everything. The shelters, the crops they'd spent years cultivating, gone. Then, while they're still reeling from that, a massive earthquake rips the island apart. But this catastrophe, it had a completely unintended side effect. The quake violently shifted the wreckage of the plane, unearthing parts of the cockpit that had been buried for almost 9 years.
The engineer, Arthur Vaines, was checking out the newly exposed wreckage when he found the radio, and in a moment of pure, unbelievable coincidence, a powerful solar flare was happening to pass over the Earth. That flare, combined with whatever the earthquake did to the damaged equipment, it allowed him to get a signal out. For the first time in 9 years, a voice from the dead crackled over the airwaves in Miami.
That one desperate message, you can imagine, it sent shockwaves across the entire globe and launched what has to be one of the most unbelievable rescue missions in all of history.
The U.S. government immediately scrambled a new search operation. They didn't have a precise location, so they just scoured every island in the area. Finally, one morning, a survivor looks out at the horizon and sees this tiny speck. It was a U.S. Navy ship. Their 9-year nightmare was over.
When the rescue team finally landed, they were met by 82 people. Men, women, and even children who had been born on the island. The world was stunned. The people they had mourned 9 years ago, they were weary, they were weak, but they were alive.
Their return was a global phenomenon. It was a story of human endurance that just defied all belief. A year later, their whole experience was documented in a best-selling book, Lost in the Echo, the 9-year survival of Flight NC-16002, which made sure their legend would never, ever be forgotten.
In the end, their story is just this incredible testament to those 82 souls who simply refused to give up, who went through the unthinkable and came out the other side. It's proof that even after 9 years, against all odds, the will to survive can truly overcome anything.